The glowing sphere of the Colossus had vanished, leaving the humans standing in silence. The last words of the machine echoed softly in their minds. "You have spoken. You have shown meaning." For a moment, no one moved. The air inside the chamber felt lighter, yet full of energy. It was as though the Colossus itself had exhaled after centuries of waiting. Dr. Elena Merrick lowered her head and spoke quietly. "It has chosen us. We have passed the trial." Pilot Harlan let out a long breath. That was more than a test. That was a journey inside ourselves. Officer Liu nodded, her voice trembling with emotion. "We proved ourselves not through strength but through truth. That is something no weapon can match." Engineer Malik stepped forward, touching the glowing floor where the sphere had been. "It's given us trust. Now we have to prove we can use it wisely." They had passed. But this was not the end. Outside the Colossus, the galaxy was waiting. The humans returned to the surface of Thalen Prime. The glow of the Colossus now bathed the entire planet. From orbit, alien ships watched, silent and tense. The Theran priests sang hymns of praise. The Vayari recorded every signal. Even the Jarek warlord Vokreth kept his fleet at a cautious distance. The humans gathered on the highest point near the Colossus. They looked up at the monument that had challenged them, tested them, and accepted them. They had spoken and the Colossus had listened. But the galaxy was now watching them in a way it had never watched humanity before. News spread quickly through the networks of the stars. Every race, every world, every station heard that humans had awakened the silent Colossus. Some celebrated it, others feared it. Many wondered what it meant for the balance of power. The humans themselves did not answer quickly. They had no claims of conquest, no plans for domination. They had only a promise: to listen, to learn, and to speak with meaning. In the weeks that followed, humanity worked to understand what the Colossus had given them. The glowing light on Thalen Prime became a bridge of sorts. It was not a weapon, nor a device for control. It was a connection, a link between worlds, a language of light and sound. The Colossus began to share knowledge. Through pulses of energy and tones of language, it opened its archives to the humans. They learned of civilizations older than stars, of journeys across galaxies, and of a purpose that had been lost in time. The other races sent observers, curious and cautious. The Jarek refused direct contact, but their spies recorded every human step. The Vayari sent scholars to translate the glowing language of the Colossus. The Theran built great temples around the site, declaring it a holy place of unity. But the humans kept the answer simple. They spoke not of control but of connection. "We came to listen," Elena told the gathered races. The machine answered, "Because we spoke with truth. We do not claim power. We claim responsibility, to protect what we have learned." Her words echoed through the galaxy. Months passed. Humanity became the voice of the Colossus. Wherever humans traveled, they carried its language of light and sound. They spoke to worlds that had never spoken before, connecting distant races with understanding instead of force. The Colossus itself seemed to change. Its hum became softer, gentler, as though it trusted humanity to carry its purpose. Where once it stood silent, it now sang with voices of old, voices of creators, voices of explorers, voices of hope. The galaxy began to change. Old rivalries faded as new alliances formed. Humans acted as diplomats, not conquerors. They offered the language of the Colossus as a gift, a key to understanding the greater universe. Even the Jarek began to change. Commander Vokreth still scowled, but he could not ignore the truth. Humanity had done what his empire had failed to achieve. "We underestimated them," he admitted quietly to his officers. "They speak with something we cannot measure, something deeper." And so slowly, the galaxy began to speak in the voice of humanity. The greatest change came not from power, but from meaning. Where once there had been fear of control, there was now curiosity and dialogue. Where once there had been war, there was now cautious peace. The Colossus became not a weapon, but a living monument to connection. On Thalen Prime, a great city of light began to grow around it. Humans and alien races built towers of crystal and steel, places for learning, places for conversation. The Colossus itself became the heart of this city, a reminder that the universe could change when a single voice spoke with truth. Elena stood one evening at the highest terrace of the new city. She looked up at the glowing Colossus, now alive in a way no one had expected. Around her, people of many races moved freely, speaking in the language of light and sound. She thought of the day they first arrived, of how they had faced doubt, trials, and the question of meaning. Humanity had answered with truth, and that answer had opened something greater than themselves. She smiled softly. We came to listen, and the universe heard us. The galaxy would never forget the day humanity spoke to the silent Colossus. That day was written into history as a moment of change. Not because humans had conquered, but because they had chosen to connect. Some called it the dawn of voices. Others called it the age of light. But humanity simply called it the truth they had always known. That meaning was stronger than power, and connection stronger than control. The Colossus continued to hum softly now, as if satisfied. Its glow reached far across the stars, a light that no darkness could extinguish. And humanity, for the first time in its history, stood not as a young race in a hostile galaxy, but as a voice the galaxy would always remember. No one could control the ancient machine until humanity spoke. And when they spoke, they gave the universe something it had never had before. A choice to listen, a choice to connect, a choice to change. The new dawn had come, and it belonged to all. The desert world of Tarvan stretched endless under two suns, its surface burned into shades of gold and red. For centuries, no one had thought much of it. The planet had no water, no cities, no signs of life. But now, deep beneath the sand, something had been found, something so ancient and powerful that it pulled together fleets from across the galaxy. The discovery began with a group of scavenger ships that had been looking for rare metals. Their scanners had picked up strange energy readings below the dunes. At first they thought it was just leftover fuel deposits or some kind of natural mineral, but when they dug deeper, they uncovered smooth black stone perfectly cut and shaped, forming walls that no natural force could have built. Soon after, they found doors, huge, seamless doors with glowing lines running across them. News spread fast. Within weeks, half a dozen alien species sent their best teams to investigate. The Council of the Stars, a coalition that tried to keep order among the many civilizations, declared the site neutral ground. No single species could claim it, not until its secrets were understood, and so the excavation began. Hundreds of alien researchers filled the desert, their camps forming rings around the great opening in the sand. Towering reptilian Orcs set up heavy machinery, their armored scales gleaming under the sun. The winged Serath used their delicate claws to scan symbols across the walls. The insectoid Vexar crawled over the structures, whispering to each other in clicks and hisses. The humans had only a small presence. They were newcomers to the stars, their ships slower, their weapons weaker, their colonies fewer. Many saw them as observers, nothing more. Curious creatures who should be grateful just to be invited. Yet one human walked among the ruins with sharp eyes and quiet determination. Her name was Dr. Mara Vey, a scientist from Earth who had studied ancient cultures long before humanity joined the Council. She had a simple goal, to understand who had built this place and why. The first breakthrough came when the great doors opened. It took weeks of effort, lasers, sonic pulses, and even brute force. Yet nothing worked until an energy surge flowed on its own, as if the structure had decided to allow entry. The ground trembled, dust filled the air, and slowly, the doors split apart, revealing a vast chamber inside. It was unlike anything anyone had ever seen. The walls glowed with moving lights, symbols dancing like rivers of fire. In the center stood a machine the size of a cathedral, its surface dark but alive with faint pulses of power. Its shape was hard to define, part sphere, part tower, part living thing. It seemed both mechanical and organic, as if it had grown rather than been built. The crowd of scientists and leaders stood in silence. They knew at once that this was not just a building. It was a weapon. The alien factions grew restless. "This is the key to dominance," hissed a Vexar commander, her mandibles clicking. "Whoever controls it controls the galaxy." The Serath disagreed. "No, it must be shared. Such power cannot belong to one," the Korak growled. "It should belong to the strongest," and so arguments began. Each species wanted to test the machine, to awaken it, to claim its secrets. Mara, standing near the edge, listened carefully. She felt uneasy. To her, the machine did not look like something meant for destruction. The patterns on its surface reminded her of ancient Earth symbols, Spirals, waves, circles, shapes used not in war, but in ritual and art. The first attempts to activate it began. The Serath connected their energy channels. The Vexar tried to interface with their hive mind codes. The Codex slammed their power drills against its shell. But nothing responded. The machine remained silent, its faint glow unchanged. Days passed. Weeks followed. The great chamber echoed with frustration and anger. One evening, while the others argued, Mara wandered closer to the machine. Her steps echoed softly across the smooth floor. She placed her hand on the surface, not expecting anything. And then it happened. The machine lit up. A wave of light spread across its body, symbols blazing brighter than ever before. The air hummed with energy. The ground shook as though the planet itself was waking. Mara stumbled back, eyes wide, her heart pounding. Around her, the alien researchers froze, staring in disbelief. "It reacts to her," shouted a Serath scholar. "That's impossible," growled a Korak. Yet the truth was there for all to see. The machine had remained silent for all their efforts, but at the touch of a single human it responded. Suddenly, a projection filled the chamber. Streams of light formed images in the air. Tall figures, unlike any known species, their bodies covered in armor that glowed like stars. Their voices echoed in a language no one understood, but Mara felt something strange. Though the words were alien, she sensed their meaning in her mind. To those who find this, beware. Power is not given lightly. Only the chosen may awaken the heart of the machine. The vision faded. The machine grew still again, though faint pulses of light remained, as if waiting. The chamber erupted in chaos. "She is the key," shouted one alien. "Unacceptable. Humans cannot be trusted with this," hissed another. "The machine chooses. We must obey." "No. We will take it by force." Mara stood frozen, her mind racing. Why had the machine responded to her? Why not the others? She was no warrior, no leader, just a scientist. And yet the weight of countless alien eyes now fell on her. In that moment she understood something. Whatever this machine was, it would change the future of the galaxy. And somehow humanity, small, fragile humanity, was at the center of it. Outside the ruins, the stars shone cold and distant. Fleets hovered in orbit waiting for news. Entire civilizations held their breath, hungry for the secret of the machine. And far below, in the desert of Tarven, a single human stood before an ancient power that no one else could touch. The story of mankind in the galaxy was about to change forever. Part 2, The Human Key. The desert camp outside the ruins of Tarven was no longer a place of discovery. It had become a place of suspicion. The moment the ancient machine had answered to Mara's touch, the balance among the alien factions shifted. What had once been quiet competition now turned into sharp arguments and whispered threats. Every leader wanted answers. Why had the machine chosen a human? And what would it mean for the galaxy if only humans could command it? Suspicion and fear. The Korak, massive reptilian warriors, gathered in their steel tents. Their commander, General Varkos, spoke in a low growl. "This cannot be allowed. A weak species cannot hold such power. The machine must be taken. If necessary, the human will be removed." The Vexar swarm, with their sharp limbs and glowing eyes, clicked nervously among themselves. They were clever, but they did not like uncertainty. One of their scholars whispered, "If the machine responds only to her kind, then we must find a way to copy her pattern. A mind can be studied, a body can be remade." The Serath, the winged philosophers, were the most cautious. Their leader, Elder Seriv, raised his silver wings and spoke calmly. "Perhaps the machine knows more than we do. If it chooses humanity, then there must be a reason. We must study, not fight." But no one trusted the others. Mara's worry inside the ruins. Mara sat near the machine, staring at its glowing surface. She had not slept well since the vision. Each time she closed her eyes, she remembered the tall armored figures, their voices echoing in her mind. Only the chosen may awaken the heart. She was not a hero. She was not a fighter. She had come to Tarven simply to study, to learn, yet now entire species watched her every move. Some with hope, some with fear, some with hatred. Her team of humans, only a handful of scientists and diplomats, stood close, trying to protect her. But they knew their strength was small. The humans had only 2 ships in orbit, nothing compared to the fleets of the great powers. One of her colleagues, David Lang, spoke softly to her. Mara, maybe you should stay back. If they see you near the machine again, they'll panic. She shook her head. I didn't do anything special. I only touched it. If it responds to me, then maybe it wants me to understand it. Hiding won't solve anything. Another attempt the next day, under the watch of dozens of alien scholars, Mara was asked to try again. She stepped forward, her hands shaking slightly, and pressed her palm to the smooth surface. Light rippled across the machine once more, brighter than before. This time the chamber filled with sound, tones like music, rising and falling in patterns too complex for any alien device. The walls lit up with streams of symbols. The Serath recorded everything. The Vexar hissed in frustration. The Korak clenched their claws, and then the vision came again. This time only Mara saw it. She found herself standing in a vast hall of stars, the armored figures before her. Their eyes glowed with pale fire. You are not the first to try. Many have come, but only those who carry the spark may pass. We measure not strength of body, but strength of spirit. We wait for those who endure. The vision faded, and Mara stumbled back, breathing hard. What did it show you? Demanded General Varkos, his voice echoing in the chamber. Mara looked at the expectant faces around her. Should she tell them the truth? That the machine seemed to be judging her, testing her, that it was not simply a weapon to be taken, but a guardian with rules of its own. She hesitated. It showed me the past. Warnings. I don't think it can be controlled by force, the aliens murmured among themselves, none satisfied by her vague answer. Shadows in the camp that night. The human tents were surrounded by quiet eyes. Strange figures moved in the darkness, spies from other factions. Some tried to overhear conversations. Others watched for a chance to steal human data. A few were more dangerous, carrying blades and poisons. The humans knew they could not defend themselves forever. Ambassador Elias Grant, the leader of the human delegation, spoke to Mara in a low voice. We need to leave, at least until this storm calms. You've become the center of something too big. Too dangerous, but Mara shook her head. If I leave, they'll only fight harder. They'll try to break into the machine themselves. And if they can't, they might destroy it out of anger. Someone has to be here. The ambassador sighed. Then we'll need allies. Humans cannot face this alone. Choosing sides, the Serath approached first. Elder Seriv came to the human camp, his silver wings folded neatly behind him. Dr. Vey, he said gently, I believe the ancients chose your kind for a reason. Your species is young, yes, but unbroken. Where others grow arrogant, humans remain humble. If the machine speaks to you, then perhaps it sees what we do not. We will support you, if you agree to share its knowledge for peace. Before Mara could answer, General Varkos arrived with a squad of Korak soldiers. He did not bother with polite words. The machine must serve strength. Humanity will hand over the girl and step aside. If you resist, you will not survive. The Serath and Korak glared at each other, the tension sharp as a blade. The humans stood frozen, caught in the middle of forces far greater than themselves. Mara's choice. Mara stepped forward. Her voice trembled, but she forced herself to speak clearly. I don't know why the machine reacts to me. I don't know what it wants. But I do know this, it is not a prize to be stolen. It is not a weapon for war. If any of you try to use it that way, it will refuse you. It will destroy you. The Korak growled, but her words carried weight. They had all seen the machine's silence to their touch. Elder Seriv bowed his head slightly. Then perhaps we must listen to the human. But not everyone agreed. A dangerous plan far away in the Vexar camp, their hive whispered together. They had been watching Mara closely. They knew the others would argue endlessly, wasting time. The swarm preferred action. If the machine answers only to her, one Vexar hissed, then we will take her. We will cut the secret from her mind. The galaxy will belong to us. And so, while the council argued above the sands, the Vexar prepared their plan. A new test. The next morning, Mara returned to the machine once more. She did not want to, but she felt compelled, as though the machine itself was calling her. When her hand touched its surface, the lights flared again. This time the floor opened, revealing a staircase leading downward into the dark. The aliens gasped. None of their scanners had detected such a path. The machine was opening itself, but only for her. Mara's fear deepened. She realized this was only the beginning. Whatever lay inside would be far greater, and far more dangerous than anything they had seen yet. And in the shadows, the Vexar moved quietly, preparing to strike. The staircase revealed by the machine seemed endless, vanishing into shadows that no scanner could pierce. A faint glow shimmered along the walls, guiding the path downward. For the first time since the discovery of the ruins, silence filled the chamber. No alien dared to speak. All eyes turned toward Mara, the only one the machine seemed to answer. Mara's heart raced. She had not wanted this role, but the machine left her no choice. She looked back at the gathered aliens, some fearful, some angry, some desperate. Slowly, she took her first step onto the glowing stair, a path into the unknown. The humans followed close behind, Ambassador Grant, David Lang, and 2 guards armed with simple rifles. Elder Sarab of the Serath also insisted on joining, his silver wings folded tight. He whispered, "If the ancients opened this way for you, then it may reveal truths to us all." The Korak commander growled but stayed behind, unwilling to admit weakness by following a human. The Vexar, however, sent a cluster of scouts who clicked their mandibles quietly, their glowing eyes fixed on Mara's every move. Step by step, the group descended. The air grew cooler, filled with a faint hum as if the machine itself breathed. The walls glowed brighter, covered in symbols no one could read. Yet Mara felt something strange, though she did not understand the shapes. A meaning tugged at her mind like half-remembered dreams. At last, the stair ended in a vast underground hall, the Chamber of Stars. The hall was breathtaking. Its ceiling shimmered with thousands of tiny lights forming constellations that seemed alive. In the center stood a smaller version of the great machine above, an orb of crystal spinning slowly, surrounded by rings of energy. The Serath scholar gasped. "A star map. This is no weapon, it is a record." Mara stepped forward, drawn to the orb. As her hand hovered near, the rings expanded, forming streams of light across the hall. Images filled the air. Galaxies forming, civilizations rising and falling, battles fought among the stars. The aliens watched in awe as the history of an unknown ancient race unfolded before them. Then came a warning. The images shifted, showing fire across worlds, entire fleets consumed by light. A voice echoed, not in words, but in feeling. Mara felt the message inside her mind. Power without wisdom brings ruin. Only those who carry the spark of endurance and hope may guide the heart. Her knees weakened. She understood now. The machine was not simply waiting to be activated. It was searching for someone worthy. The council breaks news of the chamber spread quickly. Soon the upper camps filled with anger. The Serath spoke of peace and learning. The Korak demanded the machine be used for strength. The Vexar hissed about seizing control. The Council of the Stars, which had promised to keep order, began to fracture. Each species accused the others of plotting to claim the machine. In the human camp, Ambassador Grant held tense meetings. "We are surrounded," he told Mara quietly. "They see us as both a key and a threat. If we are not careful, this could turn into war." Mara pressed her hands together, struggling to stay calm. "I don't want this. I don't want to be anyone's weapon." "But you are, whether you like it or not," Grant replied. "The machine has made you one." The Vexars moved that night. The Vexar swarm decided to act. A group of their warriors crept into the human tents, moving silently like shadows. Their goal was simple: capture Mara, take her to their hive, and force her to unlock the machine's secrets. But the machine seemed aware. As the Vexar drew near, the walls of the ruins pulsed with light. A low hum shook the ground, and a surge of energy pushed through the chamber. The Vexar collapsed, hissing in pain as though the machine itself rejected their intent. The humans rushed to Mara's side. She trembled but stood firm, staring at the glowing walls. For the first time, she felt the machine was not just testing her, it was protecting her. The vision deepens. The next day, Mara returned to the lower chamber. She placed her hands on the crystal orb. Immediately, her mind was pulled into another vision. She stood once more before the tall, armored figures of the ancients. Their eyes glowed with starfire. "You fear the weight we place upon you," they spoke, "but it is fear that keeps power from becoming tyranny. You are not chosen because of strength. You are chosen because of struggle. Your kind has endured darkness and risen again." Mara shook her head in the vision. "I am not strong. I am only one human." "That is why you are worthy," they replied. "The others hunger for power. You hunger for understanding. That is the spark." The vision faded, leaving her breathless. Growing conflict when Mara shared her experience with the others, the aliens reacted with fury. Why should humans be the only ones trusted? demanded a Korak warrior. This is manipulation, hissed a Vexar. The machine tricks us. Only Elder Serev remained calm. Perhaps the ancients saw something in humanity that we do not. A seed of resilience. But his words did little to calm the others. The camps grew tense. Fleets in orbit shifted positions, each preparing for battle in case negotiations failed. Ambassador Grant whispered to Mara, "We are standing on the edge of war, and all because of you." Mara's chest tightened. She had never wanted such responsibility, but now the fate of many worlds balanced on her choices. A secret message that night. As Mara sat alone in the ruins, the machine spoke again, not through visions, but through symbols glowing across the walls. She traced them with her fingers, and suddenly a hidden chamber opened behind her. Inside was a smaller device shaped like a crown of light. She reached out, but the device did not activate. Instead, it projected a single phrase into her thoughts. The trial awaits. Enter only when ready. Her breath caught. The ancients were preparing her for something greater, a test. And she feared she was not ready at all. Betrayal in the desert. Meanwhile, the Vexar swarm refused to give up. Their leader, Scrix, made a secret deal with the Korak commander. You want strength? We want control. Together we can remove the humans and take the machine. General Varkos growled but agreed. Better to share power with the swarm than let a fragile species like humans command it. The plot was set. Soon chaos would erupt. Mara's resolve as the suns of Tarvan set. Mara stood before the machine once more. The camp behind her filled with suspicion, but she did not waver. She remembered the words of the ancients. You are chosen not for strength but for endurance. She whispered to herself, Then I will endure. I will see this through. But even as she spoke, she did not know that betrayal was already moving against her. The trial of the machine had only begun, and soon the galaxy itself would burn with the choices made on this forgotten world. The air inside the ruins of Tarvan was heavy with tension. Outside, the camps of the Council of the Stars waited. Fleets hung in orbit above, ready to intervene. Inside, Mara stood before the glowing crystal orb in the deepest chamber the machine had revealed. It pulsed softly as if alive. The walls shimmered with moving symbols, and the words from the ancients echoed faintly in Mara's mind. The trial awaits. Enter only when ready. She was not sure she was ready. The moment arrives, the human camp was restless that night. Outside the ruins, alien sentries kept watch, unaware that danger was closing in. Deep within the shadows, the Vexar and Korak forces moved quietly, preparing for betrayal. Inside the chamber, Mara looked at her companions. Elder Serev had insisted on joining her, while Ambassador Grant and David Lang waited quietly. The Sereth's calm presence seemed to balance the unease in the room. Mara spoke softly. If this is the trial, then I must accept it. I don't know what awaits me, but I cannot turn away now. Serev nodded. The ancients have chosen your kind for this. It is a burden, but also a gift. Trust in your spirit. Entering the trial, as Mara stepped toward the glowing orb, it expanded, surrounding her in light. Her breath quickened. The chamber disappeared, replaced by a vast hall that seemed to stretch beyond sight. Stars hung in the air like scattered diamonds, and a voice spoke, deep, calm, and filled with authority. The trial begins. The voice was not spoken aloud. It echoed directly in her mind. Mara looked around. The others were gone. She was alone. Before her appeared 3 doors. Each was carved with strange symbols, each glowing in its own color, silver, gold, and deep blue. A message formed in her mind. Choose the path that reflects your worth. Strength, wisdom, or endurance. Mara hesitated. Her instinct said endurance, but her heart feared the unknown. She reached toward the deep blue door. The moment her fingers touched it, the air shifted and she stepped inside. The test of endurance. Mara found herself in a vast field, endless under a dark sky. Around her were visions of humanity's history, wars, disasters, struggles, and moments of compassion. She saw cities destroyed by storms, entire civilizations wiped out by disease, but also saw humans rebuilding, helping each other, and finding hope in despair. The voice spoke again. Endurance is not survival alone. It is the will to rise again, to protect what is precious despite the cost. Mara watched scenes of her own world, Earth, flash before her. She saw the first steps into space, The struggles of colonizing other worlds, the sacrifices of countless explorers. She felt tears on her cheeks. When the visions ended, she stood before the voice once more. You have shown endurance. But will you choose creation or destruction? The deep blue door faded, replaced by another path, this one filled with light. Mara stepped forward. The betrayal unfolds back in the ruins. Silence fell. Outside, the Vexar and Korok forces moved in the darkness. With sudden precision, they struck. The human camp was surrounded. Explosions shook the ground. Shouts and alarms filled the air. Ambassador Grant rushed toward Mara's location, trying to reach her before it was too late. The Serath fought to hold the attackers, but the numbers were overwhelming. Mara could feel the danger even within her trial. The chamber of light trembled. Symbols flashed angrily. Mara knew something had changed outside. The trial was not only for her. It was a test for all who desired the power of the machine. A choice of unity. Mara entered a large chamber at the end of her path. Before her stood figures from every faction, Korok warriors, Serath philosophers, Vexar swarm leaders, and humans, each watching her. The chamber seemed to expand, holding them all in impossible space. The voice spoke once more. Only those who choose unity may wield the heart of the machine. She looked at the gathered leaders. They were ready to fight, to claim the machine's power for themselves. The air around them was thick with anger and fear. Mara stepped forward. I do not want this for myself, she said loudly. If the machine gives its power, it is not for one species to own. It is for all who seek to protect life. The room fell silent. Even the Korok lowered their weapons. The machine's decision, the crystal orb, pulsed brighter. A warm light spread through the chamber. Symbols formed in the air above Mara, writing themselves in languages none could speak. Slowly, they reshaped into a single phrase in her mind. Humanity has proven its worth. It carries the spark. The heart is open. The machine's voice filled the hall. You have chosen unity. You have endured. You are the keeper. Mara felt energy pass through her. Knowledge, light, and a sense of connection to something far greater than herself. She understood then what the ancients had meant. The power was not a weapon. It was a gift, a way to create, to heal, to protect. But it required trust, compassion, and courage to use wisely. Aftermath of the trial outside, the fighting ceased. The Vexar and Korok withdrew, their plans broken by the machine's choice. The Serath bowed their heads in respect. The humans stood in awe, not of the power, but of what had been proven, that humanity could stand as guardians of something greater than war. Ambassador Grant came to Mara's side. You've changed everything, he said quietly. Mara nodded, her mind still filled with the light of the machine. The trial is not over. This is only the beginning. The ancient machine had chosen humanity, not for strength, not for power, but for endurance and unity. And now, Mara knew, the galaxy would never be the same.